Hey everyone, it's Blake. Welcome in to episode number 19 of our Exploring the CVerse series in TEW 2020. We are on to APW, Australian Pro Wrestling. On the most recent edition, we did Raw, looking at the other top promotion in Australia. Now we move to APW, and let's jump right in. Again, if you want to go back, check out all the other videos we've done in this series, you can. Lots of other companies explored to this point, and many more still to come here as we go through all the starting companies in the CVerse. All right, APW starting off as 28th in the world, a small company, $125,000 to work with, so not a terrible number there. That's a decent chunk of change. 37% prestige, 40% momentum. Small, as we said, kind of the company size there, and we will kind of look at that here. So to get to medium, you need to get 59 popularity. In South Wales or in New South Wales, then 35 in any of these three here. So a little bit of a path to get there. Probably won't necessarily be a quick rise to medium by any means. So yeah, you kind of know that you have your work cut out for you from the start, but it's not so far back that it's impossible to achieve, as we'll look at here in a second. The biggest thing will just be, can you keep your top workers to be able to grow to this medium size, and can you keep kind of bringing that talent in when you do inevitably lose some workers to perhaps Raw and other promotions. So APW, we look at the background here, the brainchild of James J. McMinister, and basically using the Australian Super League sort of formats. Again, money not necessarily a problem, buying out the small companies, but again, Raw has really just put a wrinkle in things because, as we talked about on the previous episode, Raw pretty much a made-for-TV promotion, and so having that visibility TV-wise, that automatically grows the company pretty quickly, and meanwhile, APW, no TV show, anything like that, so the visibility is just not there, and so, yeah, I think this is the big point here, and as I just sort of alluded to a second ago, talent raids, that will be something I think that's pretty challenging with APW. And again, if you've played with APW, you can weigh in the comments, but having played through some other saves and kind of seeing what happens, some talent's going to wind up in Raw, and it will happen sooner rather than later, just based on, again, playing other saves and seeing kind of the movement elsewhere from a roster standpoint. So that's going to be the big question. Can you keep the talent away from Raw? And if you can, or if you can just build up other talent and stay in that conversation, can you possibly get to the point of challenging them? It's a big challenge, I think, but that's a narrative you can use if you want to play with APW. All right, let's talk about the product. Family-friendly wrestling, so take the sports entertainment style, take it to PG, and that's what you get here. It's good for sponsorship, in terms of trying to make some money and such, so that's kind of a positive there, but as you can see, it is really just your sports entertainment style to a family-friendly type situation where you're just, pushing a lot of sort of basic stuff. You're not getting too hardcore with anything. You have your strict face-heel divide here. So clear baby faces, clear heels. And you certainly can't have any big scandals because that hurts a promotion that is geared towards family-friendly type stuff, so you have to stay away from that. As we'll see in a second, the backstage is in pretty good shape, so you don't really have to worry about necessarily any of those big backstage blow-ups right off the bat or anything, but, scandals are what they are. If they happen, you're in trouble just from knocking it a little bit. So, everything else here is pretty standard, I would say. You certainly look here at the angle. Highlights is sort of the angle focus on this one, so as we always do, we go through these. Highlights is going to be more of just the calculation of the three highest angles, less than three, then, you just kind of the highest of the ones that are used. So that's the focus there on that. Looking down this list here, you're pretty much your basic sports entertainment type split here. 80% matches, 20% angles on events. You don't have to worry about TV just yet. Of course, not really long matches because you are appealing to kind of the family-friendly type audience. So not going to have overbooked long type matches, so I think that's pretty clear cut. Basic matches, so you have, again, no barbed wire, steel cage, flaming table matches are not going to probably happen in APW, at least not with the starting product. You can always change it, of course, but that's just kind of your basic stuff here. So you'd have to have a storytelling aim, which is not surprising. You do need an associated storyline with your top matches, and they're going to expect a lot of storylines because it is sports entertainment. This is all basic stuff if you've run a sports entertainment style company before, so not a lot of changes here. For APW, pretty standard in that regard. All right, to the events we go. What I like about APW, and you guys know what I'm going to say if you've watched through this series, I love the fact that there are, sort of distinct graphics here with, these shows, and you kind of have a distinct style of what you're looking at. So I think APWs actually are some of the best in the game in terms of just sort of making them pretty unique in terms of just you're looking at it, hey, that's an APW show. And for a company, as we said, that's small, it's nice to have just kind of be able to kind of immerse yourself in the actual theme of the graphic here and those kind of things. So I think it's pretty fun to look at. So it helps the presentation. You can lean into the theme shows, of course. Hey, Fight Night, what could you come up with there? Beachfront Breakdown, I like that one. Cage Showdown, that kind of speaks for itself, right? So a lot of different ones you can do here. Championship Carnival. There's no season finale, but so again, you can kind of decide which show you want to make as your biggest show. Maybe it's Beer Bash, maybe it's not. Hey, maybe it's the longest night. There's a lot of different stuff you could do. So I like that. So a normal schedule, you don't really have to worry about TV necessarily just yet. But I do like the fact that their graphics kind of help out and immerse yourself kind of in the APW lore, I guess you could say. All right, to the titles, pretty standard group of titles here. The Commonwealth one's going to be your top championship, 41 prestige here for this one. Not a surprise. Best match of the night usually with your top championship. So Scotty Hampstead here, he is your current champion. And, again, it's just kind of one of those things where, it's kind of the setup here. An Australian championship's going to be your mid-card title. Bounces around a lot, but, kind of know that's how it works. The tag team championships, you got pretty good, strong tag team title prestige here. 36 for this one. As we said, top championship has 41. So you continue to grow the tag team division, as we'll look at here in a second. You do have several experienced tag teams on the roster. So basic set of titles, nothing too groundbreaking there with that one. All right, stables, you've got one Goliath Global, which I don't know why, I just love the Goliath Global name, led by Victor Goliath, so kind of the guy who pulls the strings here. That could be something you play into with storylines, because as we said, you got to have a lot of them. So you've got Goliath Global here. You can have some fun with this, figuring out kind of what direction you want to go with them. You do need to add some heat to some of the starting storylines because you are failing this requirement right off the bat. So you got to have 35 heat, and I think as we go down here, you've got this one, Goliath Global versus Gerard here. That's going to be your top storyline. So just need one more to add to the 35 heat off the bat, so you can read through these, have some fun with the starting storylines. I don't say that enough, but I think it's fun just to lean into the starting storylines and make it your own. Where do you go here? This one, right? It's standing up to Goliath Global, made Christopher Gerard a target. Brutal sneak attack massacre was the first strike against him. Gerard is now sworn to take down the group and looking to hit them where it hurts by taking the Australian title off the Big Samoan. All right, well, that's great. That's a great starting point. I can work with that. What's the next step in the story? What can I do? So it really helps, especially when, the CVerse is, if you're not that familiar with it, you maybe don't have that connection to these characters, but this at least gives you a starting point from where these guys are in their universe, right? So I think that can be really helpful. If you're struggling a little bit to try to figure out, what company, and where do I get started when I start with one of these companies and I don't know who any of these people are, maybe, I think this is a great point. You read the bios, but you really can look at the storylines too to see kind of where the starting foundation is for the company and, produce all your stuff around that in terms of building your matches and storylines and everything. So that can be a good thing to do. I mentioned the experienced tag teams. You got some here. We'll scroll down the list. You got a couple hundreds here. The Apocalypse tag team, I'm going to tell you right now, Warmonger and Hatemonger, they're like, for the 80s wrestling fans out there, this reminds me of the Powers of Pain back in the day. The Warlord and Barbarian here. I really like the visual aspect of these two guys. But, again, you've got, three tag teams that have 100 experience. So that's kind of fun. You can lean into that. Everything else, as I said, backstage, 100%. Unfortunately, Hatemonger and Warmonger, negative influences. I mean, look, with those names, I'm not surprised that they are negative influences backstage. But, but still, your backstage rating is fine. So you're good there. No child companies, no developmental, no training because you are a small company. So you don't have any of those to start off with there on that. Relationships, I mean, you're pretty much in hostile territory with multiple companies here. Deep Impact Wrestling, so again, hostile attitude DIW does towards APW, and of course Raw, hostile attitude between these two. That's not surprising, and that's where, again, you kind of open yourself up for that talent stealing possibility just because Raw has all the money and they're the biggest promotion, and so that's just something you have to kind of look at up front and understand that's where things are with that. And of course, if we look at it from a contract standpoint, look, these are all handshake deals, so you have to, figure out what you want to do there. It's just trying to, I think, keep your top stars, because if not, yes, you can go out and get some other guys, but it's that makes that road to, as we said, that path to getting to medium size a little bit harder. Just knowing that there's some uphill climbs in terms of keeping your roster intact. All right, we'll kind of look at the creative section here. Only one person in the franchise players, that is Christopher Gerard. You can see you're 28 years old, again, one of the wrestlers who the company is based around. You can look at his skills here. Pretty solid skill set for someone like this. 47% popularity, or 47 popularity in that. So, that's someone who you're probably going to build a lot of things around. We just talked about kind of the starting storyline with him against Goliath Global. So, that's worth noting. Next big things, you've got 3 guys here. Chuck, that's a good name. Chuck is someone, you can read the bios as I say, but you can kind of look into these guys, see what maybe stands out. With this, Paul Reinhold, 21. Definitely got some work to do in the skills standpoint, but hey, it looks like he is someone listed as one of the next big things. Suburban Legend. Hey, here we go. So we got an 82 star quality, 75 on the sex appeal. Got great charisma here. So Suburban Legend, someone that I would lean into probably as I look at this roster, because he's clearly, got something that, he's got a lot of the intangibles you need to build a star. It's just, can you keep him? Used to be in Zen. So, so there you go. Hot prospects, got a lot here. Some of the same ones. Reggie Tate here. Let's look at him. Good star quality, good in-ring work. So that's helpful. 6'6" powerhouse. Good. So we can build around Reggie too. And then some other people. Brian Rampage. Not to be confused with AEW Rampage. So he's someone also on the list. Leon Namath. Here's another guy. I love just looking at these random guys, and it's so fun to kind of see what the starting stats are, look at kind of the bio, and see where everybody's at. And of course, Dexter Mattel. Dexter reminds me of I don't know why, a Dave Bautista with glasses. Maybe that's it. But he's got the sex appeal of Big Dave. So maybe that's it. There you go. There's kind of your hot prospects. Again, you can always dive into the roster, see what you have there, and we will kind of look at it real quickly here. Like I said, I think you got a nice group of potential stars. You can add more young talent to the roster, especially if you assume that you're going to have guys that are stolen away. I forgot I had this filtered. That's kind of the 30 to 40 when I was putting my notes. I guess they're not going to be 0 as the minimum age. You got to at least be 5 years old if you're going to join APW. No, I'm just joking. But, you do have a lot of guys on the roster here. I mean, it almost gives you the scroll bar. So, you've got not a terrible starting point. You've got, some guys, even if you get some people that are stolen away, you've got a pretty good group here to work with, and, you can filter it by star quality, all that. But I kind of just showed you sort of the main people that are the starting point of the roster. I'll do my usual 70 filter on the star quality just to kind of look ahead at who your big stars could be. I mean, here's a guy, Marty Mason, 87 on the star quality. So, hey, what can you do with him? He's a mid-card babyface act right now. How do you build him into a top star before he inevitably gets stolen away? Nighthawk here, Ultimate Warrior-esque face paint, star quality good, sex appeal good. So yeah, I mean these are people who just, the more you dive into the stats, you can see kind of what they bring to the table, and I think this is a pretty good group here when you look at it from just the starting point. Some nice sort of character type guys, and again, for sports entertainment, that's important. You need those kind of guys to be able to do it. And Victor Goliath, kind of your leader of your top stable. So having him with this kind of stuff on the mic is really good. And we talked about Warmonger here. I mean, look at Warmonger. He could be my champion right off the bat. So there you go. There's just kind of some thoughts on APW. You can look through the entire roster, as I said. Always helps to look at this. I mean, this is, to me, I think that the most challenging part of APW as I look at it is really just knowing that you're kind of limited maybe from the start, just because, you're going to assume you're going to have some workers getting stolen away, some of your top guys. But I think that's where, it becomes what you could do, I guess. And it's really just going out and going to the hidden gems and saying, all right, can I pick up some of these people, who are eventually going to be maybe some of the top stars that I can really, start to build around. So, look, you may have to start taking some people away from Zen, which ironically, Zen's going to be the next company we talk about in the CVerse series. But, that's really what it comes down to, is just keeping the talent flowing. Probably going to lose some of your top guys. But as we said, it's a bit of a path to get to medium size, building up the company. But, hey, that's the challenge of, if you want to start and you're just kind of trying to grow a company, and you just sort of navigate along the way, figuring out how quickly you can get the company where you want it to go. And who knows? If your ultimate goal is to have APW challenge Raw, then you can certainly take on this save and, hey, see how long it takes you to get there, because that's one of the fun parts of this game, is just having some challenging saves. And this is one that I would put in that group probably of just challenges to figure out how you're going to, get to that point of potentially maybe challenging Raw in the future. Probably not in the short-term future, but way, way down the road. And then again, it's just kind of a fun sports entertainment company that's small, only one show a month, so it's not really overwhelming. Maybe you can eventually get that TV deal, get the medium, and do all that. So there are some thoughts on APW. If you've played with APW in TEW 2020, let me know your thoughts. Let everybody know your tips and tricks. That's always the fun part of this series, seeing what you guys think about these companies in the comments. So if you have played a save with Australian Pro Wrestling, let us know in the comments. Leave your feedback, your insight, what's worked, what has not worked, and let us know with that. So anybody that wants to start a save can have some insight there heading into it. But as always, be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. I appreciate you guys' feedback on this series. A lot of fun to look at these companies. And yes, as I've teased, I will be starting a CVerse series here on the channel in the near future. I kind of want to be a completist here and get all of these knocked out before I start that series. I think that's probably the plan. So once we finish this Exploring the CVerse series, I am going to go ahead and start my CVerse save here on the channel. I've got a pretty good idea which company I'm going to use, but that could change by the time we finish this series. So we'll see. But check out everything else, WWE, AEW, WCW, and check it all out on the channel, and a lot more to come. So I appreciate you guys, as always. And as I said, on the next edition of our Exploring the CVerse series, we will go to Zen.